Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the show. Today, we speak with Brandon Jones. Brandon is a Grand Prairie firefighter, 20-year firefighter at that. Brandon talks with us about the front lines of COVID-19. Enjoy. Got a fire engine red and T-Bird automobile. In a minute or less, I can be dressed fit to kill. I work 24 on and 24 off. When they get too hot, they just to give me a call. I'm the fireman. That's my name.
I should mention, we're already recording.
3, 2, 1. Brandon Jones, what's up, buddy?
How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Brandon reached out to me and wanted to discuss a little bit about COVID-19. But I'm finding out he's also a podcast fan and just wants to enjoy it. So we'll definitely talk about it, man. Thanks.
Yeah, was doing the social distancing, quarantining, all that stuff, and found myself down the Instagram wormhole. And
yeah, good job.
Stumbled upon, the HotnCole podcast. So
I was a little surprised. Not that you're old, but you're not some young man, Mr. Instagram, but you actually are the handler, more or less, for one of the fire pages. What's that?
Yeah, it's our local Firefighters Association.
Okay, Firefighters Association.
Yes, sir.
Very cool.
And we've got our local number is Local 3255. And we are tied. That's our reference number with the International Association of Firefighters.
Okay.
So
is that your city specifically?
That is the city of Grand Prairie specifically.
Okay.
Correct.
So any firefighter who is in the city of Grand Prairie, works for the city of Grand Prairie, who chooses to be as part of that code. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. We have monthly dues that we collect. In that, we help work with the chief in making sure. Basically, our biggest battles are going to be benefits, pay, working conditions.
Okay.
Things.
So
of that
then
nature.
Are you just a Twitter handler, or the Instagram handler? Or are you involved in the hierarchy of the chapter?
I am newly elected president.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I was the vice president to Jason Ferris for many years.
I know Jason. Yeah.
And Jason decided it was time to move on.
Yeah.
But
well, he was involved with Lions Club, and I'm sure something else. So
yeah, he's very active in the community, and he just realized it was time to pass over the reins and.
So is it a desired term, or is it a 1 year specific, or?
It's a 2 year. I was elected for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was one of those that I was kind of groomed for it. Not necessarily it was something I sought out, but again, in the association's background and what we're here for, we are a liaison between the chief and our general membership of firefighters.
Yeah.
And we're really striving to improve our relationship with our city government.
Yeah.
So at a lot of the city address, the mayor's dinner, usually a couple of us are there.
Okay.
We'll be at the budget seminar, budget workshops.
Yeah.
We'd like to be involved in the development of our department for the betterment of our department.
Okay.
So we do reach out to council members to just establish relationships to get that personal connection.
Sure.
We always say it's harder to say no to someone who you know.
Yeah. So I don't like to harp too much on this podcast on my position, because I do a lot of things. Right. By the way, I'm sponsored by Cole Humphreys Real Estate Agent. So if you're buying or selling, that justifies me spending the money and time on this thing. So not that it's paid me anything yet, but so I say that to say that's one of the coolest things is learning how well the fire department in the city of Grand Prairie functions. Chief Fight alone is changing the way fire departments are ran altogether, and particularly most recently, we've been briefed on the cancer pathogens in the skin and from the uniforms.
Yes,
where it's no longer forever you thought it was inhalation, right? And now the smoke cancer-causing I don't know the science on it, is in the uniforms that you used, and then you go and use that uniform again,
Yeah, for the longest time we thought it was actual consumption, bringing the stuff in, but through science and just trends, we found its absorption.
Wow.
So our bunker gears in the apparatus bay fire up the engines. If there's no exhaust system set up for the apparatus bay, all that benzene and the smoke is just sitting in there, and it finds its way into the porous material of our gear. So
the porous material of your gear.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just absorbs it up, like sponges. So we put that stuff on, and as we work, our skin heats up, and our pores in our skin open up, and it allows that carcinogen to enter the body.
Carcinogen was the other word I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the research has showed the groin, the armpit, the neck, regions that get hot and sweaty are more prone to attracting those carcinogens.
Yeah.
So it's really, in the 20 years I've been in the fire service, I've seen a few game changers.
This one is.
The cancer is probably the most radical.
Yeah.
Because it changes what we traditionally thought was cool. The salt, the sooty helmet, it's all dark. You can't even read out who it is. Yeah. Again, the dingy bunker gear, the constant smell of smoke. What used to be cool is not.
Yeah.
And there's certain demographics that the generation before mine, when it was a lot less compound chemicals in carpet fibers, repellents and like stain repellents.
Oh, wow.
Things that we go into household. That new house smell.
Yeah.
That's just all the products off-gassing.
Yeah, it is.
Right? So what
you think it's great, but
what helps us out on the commercial side is not firefighter friendly. So same thing with building materials. You can build a house quicker, faster with lighter weight, less material, but it doesn't bode well under fire.
Oh yeah, not at all.
So of course the building industry is going to want to make a buck, but here on the fire side we're like, hey, we still need to be safe. So that's why we've had to change our tactics a little bit about how to approach certain fires. But back to the cancer thing, what our predecessors were under the theory of, this is cool, this is bad, this is the way you want to be. You want to be salty, you want to be seasoned. That doesn't fly anymore, because we're having now all these extra chemicals put into these products that are producing more carcinogens when they're not exposed to fire conditions.
Wow.
So, again, I've got relatives who put 30 years on a department, and they don't have they don't have any precursors to any cancers or anything, but yet we're finding more of between 30 and 50-year-olds who have been in the fire department for 5 to 10 years come down with testicular cancer, thyroid cancer, all the prone spots that are known. So through the work of the state association and local associations, there's actually presumptive laws built in now to where if you've been a firefighter for more than 5 years and come down with one of, I think there's 11 cancers on the list now, it is presumed that you got it from a job-related exposure.
Yeah.
So there is some legislation out there to really help us and our families in case something like that happens.
Yeah, and from a management perspective, it's like, paying cancer health benefits, right? It raises cost over, across the board.
Right.
And this is like a prevention thing.
Absolutely.
This is going to allow, it might cost a little bit now, right? But the future is bright with these, at least as far as we know.
Yeah, in theory. And a lot of, there's some of the Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, Finland, they're kind of ahead of the curve. They're going as far as they go to a fire, they put the fire out, that first crew, they completely strip down, bag up their clothing and their equipment. Everything's airtight. Airtight as far as a bag or whatever, but it's put in a separate compartment. All of their internal stuff can be wiped down. It's no cloth seating.
Yeah.
Everything can be sanitized. And
so tell me about that real fast. So that's so the jacket you're wearing, the hat, whatever, during this fire, when you fight a fire, you put it in a separate room or a separate whatever. Are we reusing them? We're just cleaning it? What is that? What's going on there?
In the past, we would fight a fire, and we'd get it, whether we're crawling around and we get the sooty stuff or whether it's just dirt and mud.
Right, it was almost cool, right? It was almost...
You just left it there.
Yeah.
You waited for the next call. You drive, maybe you brushed it off, maybe you didn't even think
Yeah.
twice about it. You just put it back on the rack, put it back on the rig. Now we've actually got industrial grade washing machines that are called extractors.
Okay.
And more stations are starting to have
industrial grade, not commercial grade, not resident.
Yeah, because I mean, our bunker gear, the outer shell has metal fasteners on it, and so I mean, you can't just throw that in your whirlpool at home, tear it up.
Yeah.
So these are built for our specific stuff, so they don't damage our equipment. Because wash after wash after wash, it'll degrade the fabric and take some of the intended characteristics out of that material.
Sure.
So now we fight a fire, we come back, we have a backup set, which is new to our department, is everyone has 2 sets of gear now.
Okay.
So we take our contaminated dirty gear, we launder it, and then...
You launder it there at the station?
Yes, at the station.
So each station has those?
Not each station.
Okay.
The stations that have been rebuilt,
definitely
or the new stations have them. So we're trying to get them at least centralized to where, Station 6 can take their stuff over to Station 5. It's just down the street. But we have it, and Station 3 brings their stuff up to Station 1 here on Main Street.
Is that, so then, and this is kind of important, I think, because is that firefighter away from his station, or are y'all volunteering those who have the washing capabilities, or you volunteer to do it for them, basically?
They will bring it to us, and we'll do it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, they don't hang around, because it's a 20-minute process. Sure. But we have liners. So we have an inner liner, and then we have the outer shell.
Yeah. Pants
and coat. So the liners all go together with our gloves, and then our hoods go with our outer. So you're talking 2 separate loads of laundry, of wash, 20 minutes apiece, plus they got to dry.
Yeah.
So they're not just, come back tomorrow and it'll be pieced together. And that's another thing, too. We have to disassemble them. Some shifts will put it together for the other guys. Some guys will just put it all in a pile for you. It just depends on the crews that are at
who
the
it
station.
is,
yeah.
That jerk. So let's go from there. So there are many aspects of what firemen do right now. It's kind of where I'm leading this conversation. I mean, one, I guess you could drop babies off at your people.
Or a safe space.
Safe space, right?
Yeah.
You're called a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be honest. How many fires have you actually fought? And I don't need to belittle what you're doing. It's just that our growth and our ability, your growth and your ability as a department covers such a vast area of things.
Yeah, our bread and butter is EMS.
Okay.
And
well, and I was kind of getting at that. So, so you fight a fire, you help out on car wrecks, but the EMS now has become a vital aspect.
Absolutely.
And in my opinion, one of the most important services a city can provide. For those listening, EMS, there's a Nicolas Cage movie about an EMS where he basically, it's for hire. I mean, he made money on going and picking people up, and that's fine. But it was just a completely different aspect. Now, Grand Prairie and other fire departments require EMS certification, which leads us kind of to what we're talking about today, being on the front lines of COVID-19. I told Brandon a story a while ago. I'm going to say it now. So about 2 years ago, when I was campaigning, my mother was with me. She, without, I could draw the story out, but basically she fell and hit her head. Crazy thing that happened. It's not like she's an old lady. She just caught something and hit her head. Well, when she hit her head, she kind of shrieked, and it was kind of a scary shriek. Right. And so we called, actually I didn't, one of the other people called the ambulance. She kind of lost focus. She wasn't completely there. So I was,
bell rung.
Yeah, I was a little worried. And 5 minutes, EMS is there in the parking lot. I'm worried. The people I was with were worried. EMS strolls in, cool Joe, just relaxed as can be, which I think there's 2 things you can look at that. One, hey man, this is serious. Get it together. Or 2, you bring calmness
Right.
to the situation. So
Right.
you can argue that both ways. I'd rather you be cool and calm, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard you talk to some of your other guests about just confidence. You know,
Yeah.
just having the confidence to do something. You get a lot of, whether you know a little bit or a lot, if you show that confidence, you're going to gain some respect.
Yeah.
That goes so far in our industry because you do have to put your money where your mouth is. You have to practice that emergency medicine.
Right.
So with us, and we talked a little bit about this before, is here in Grand Prairie, we're cross-trained that you call 911 and have a medical emergency, you're going to get a Grand Prairie fire engine and a Grand Prairie ambulance.
Yeah. Two different trucks, minimum of 4 people probably, or
It'll be 5.
5
2 on the
people?
ambulance, 3 on the engine.
wow.
So you get 5 people to any major medical emergency. If you stub your toe or if it's something minor, depending on what our dispatch categorizes that, sometimes you can get an ambulance only and you'll just have two firefighters. But if it's any chest pain, shortness of breath, stroke, blood pressure, anything like that, you're going to get at least 5 people.
Yeah, so let's stick with that. So they show up, they treat her. She had a bump, and it wasn't a bad bump, but blood. She had blood. They determined she was okay. She said she was okay. They said, "Do you want us to take you to the hospital?" She said no. They said, "Are you sure?"
Right.
Okay, sign this.
Right.
It's not saying that you're not going to die when you go home, but
Right.
we've offered and you said no. And they said, okay, signed it. Good luck. Let us know if anything else.
Yeah.
And they left. What you don't get in that story is, oh, we'll send you a bill to this address. Here's your $1,500 bill for ambulance services and a $100 aspirin or whatever it was that they could bill you for, 100% free.
Yeah. That's the beauty of a city-operated public safety ambulance.
Yeah.
That's built into the fire service.
They're paid regardless.
Taxpayers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the tax money is going to.
And of course, now emergency services or the individual will be billed if you actually transport them to the hospital.
Correct. Yeah, that's kind of the game changer. We have to transport you. There is a cost involved with that, and that's just to recover, apparatus operations. That's to recover, some of the medications that we use aren't cheap.
Liability.
And the whole scope, the reason why EMS became so popular for fire service and for cities to obtain their own fire departments is because it's not a moneymaker, but it does generate an income.
Yeah.
So
this is perfectly leading up to this. So not only are we fighting fires and helping out in car wrecks or the front line on medical emergencies within the city, the one more thing that's important about that I want to brag on is and you're gonna tell me, you're gonna correct me, but if I have a heart attack right now, I have a splint and I'm able to call 911 Grand Prairie Fireman. I'll have a splint, more or less, whatever. I'll be treated in like 90 minutes, right?
that's the goal. The goal is to get
Well, you say that's the goal. I think Grand Prairie, I'm under the impression that we've gotten that certification for like 5 years in a row.
Yeah, we surpass it.
Yeah, we surpass it.
We surpass it. But that's the national average that the American Heart has set up for this, this award.
Yeah, it's
so
an
to speak.
award.
But it's, from the time we pick you up to the time you hit a cath table and get that procedure done, they say door to balloon time, which means they put that little balloon in your artery.
Open up the artery.
And open it up. We have routinely, on average, done it in less than 90 minutes.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Yeah.
But all those, now EMS has surpassed the amount of fires you fight. You're going on COVID-19 calls.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. I mean, there's so much involved there. You're not a nurse. You're not a doctor.
Correct.
EMS is a certification.
Yes.
You know medical, an approach at least.
Right.
Okay, so are we having a lot of COVID-19 calls? Is this a vast amount? Is it just a little bit?
It's enough to register in changing our operations.
Okay.
Again, it varies from day to day. I think the first few days that we were really paying attention to it, we had about 8 a day for about 3 or 4 days in a row.
Oh, wow.
Now, how many legitimate cases there were at that time, it's hard to say. And that's kind of the that's the gray area of this whole thing. Was early on, we weren't sure exactly what we were looking for, you know. And
you're going to walk into a house and your face starts getting eaten with this bacteria. We have no idea what we're doing.
You know, and of course, being in emergency medicine and just knowing what we're getting into, the city and and Chief Fight has done a really good job about giving us the literature of what to watch out for. And of course, we're all kind of, you know, WebMDers ourselves. So, you know, we're checking out our own research of what to watch out for. And it's really just, it's a severe respiratory infection. It's actually, I've heard some professionals call it basically SARS.2.
Okay.
SARS 2.0. It's along the same pathogenic.
We had a similar conversation about this the other day, and it was almost embarrassing, but I remember SARS, but I don't think I remember giving it 2 looks, right? I remember, was it early aughts, like 02, 03 maybe?
Yeah.
And I think I was in college. I could care less.
Yeah.
You know, like the kids that went down to Padre during the spring break when everybody else is shutting down.
Yeah.
I might have been one of those kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
You know, and you can look at it from a political point of view of there's a political agenda behind it. You can look at it from a financial point of view, big pharma kind of being behind it.
Yeah.
You can conspiracy theory this thing to death. The real thing is it is an illness, and it is happening. Why SARS wasn't treated more aggressively? Different administration.
Yeah.
We've got
the
administration we have now, and President Trump's choosing to do it this way. Again, it's just 2 different thought processes.
And you can judge them all you want, and I don't care. I mean, I'm not saying right or left. I don't care, right?
Yeah.
But it is just different, and that's why it's.
And that's why it's such a more conservative approach on getting us back to work, on getting the non-essentials back to work, and just the day getting school going again.
So don't rub it in, but as a fireman, your approach to your job is a little bit different, but you've got a job.
Correct.
And currently we're not doing any type of furlough type thing. That wouldn't happen for a while.
Yeah.
But you said you had kids. Mm-hmm. So they're at home, I guess.
Yeah. My new part-time job is a homeschool teacher, you know.
Well done.
I'm learning the 8th and 3rd grade all over again.
Yeah, yeah. And so how many kids you got?
2.
How old are they?
14 and 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they're probably rambunctious, man.
They are ready to do anything but schoolwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you been able, almost like it's an opportunity, have you gone out to a call with COVID-19? But I'm going to say you probably haven't because of the way we're approaching it, right?
Here's kind of, again, some gray area. With the introduction to, things are changing daily. Since day one of the quarantine kind of stuff, the distancing, here's the other game changer that I've experienced in my career. For years, you have a medical call, you have gloves on, right? That 20 years ago in paramedic school, that was the big thing. You gotta have your gloves, gloves. That's all I've known. So we show up, there's 5 of us, and you kind of get the group approach. You have 5 different people doing various tasks, assessing you, asking you questions. You know,
so you're a team.
EKG. We're doing things quickly and efficiently. Now we're being told, no. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're going to send 1 person in with a gown, hospital gown, gloves, eye protection, N95 respirator.
Yeah.
And we are going to screen these patients by taking their temperature, asking them a series of questions.
Yeah.
If they don't meet any of those markers, then the other responders can come in, preferably only another 1 or 2 can come in and help out, but they still need to have the gloves, the face the respiratory protection, and the eye goggles.
Wow.
And me as an officer, it's hard to send one of my guys or gals into an environment to where I no longer have them in visual contact.
Sure.
When I'm in charge of that person for their safety and well-being. So I just got to hope, this isn't someone who's got someone popping out of a closet or a door,
Yeah.
you know, making the situation worse.
So odd, man.
And it is.
Such a strange time.
And we're expected to change overnight.
Yeah.
We go from doing the same thing, the same approach, 20 years of doing this, and now we're being told, we can't do it that way.
Yeah.
And the why makes sense.
Sure.
The why makes sense because we want to limit the exposure that our personnel are being exposed to.
Yeah.
So with the CDC changes and the information of it being, you know, aerosolized to droplets to contact, you know, all these different forms of transmission, how long it stays on a surface, you know, now it's like, okay, well, instead of going in, try to bring the patient out.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know? And that's not always possible.
Oh, dude.
Because
yeah.
if they are someone who has these symptoms of COVID-19, they've got a compromised immune system most likely. So there's usually an underlying diabetic issue, cardiac issue, you know, respiratory issue. So it's not as black and white as we would like it to be.
Yeah.
So with these changing protocols of approaching patient care, Chief Fight has done a really good job in trying to stay proactive with this. And he instituted a paramedic dispatcher that we do have some of our firefighter paramedics who work in dispatch, but in a dispatch capacity only.
Okay.
So we'll hear familiar voices on the radio sometimes.
Good.
But this paramedic is working from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. There's 2 shifts, so there's 2 of them. And they're in charge of screening, asking the screening questions of these individuals.
Man.
So based upon that assessment via the phone and questions, it will spawn a COVID-19 response, which means we need to know when we come off the apparatus, we need to be fully protected as much as we can. In tote with that, he created a response unit. It's a recon unit. We call it 607, and it's 2 paramedics that are also on duty from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
They're out, right?
They are out and about.
Yeah, driving around. They're not like at a station. I mean, they may stop by.
They
but,
can. Yeah, and that's kind of another touchy subject. Is, you know, some of the officers aren't comfortable with having, hey, you're like being exposed all day long, and now you're coming to the station.
Ooh, yeah.
So there again, we're day to day on this one. But the job of that unit is to make first contact with any of these potential
COVID-19
patients, right? And that took a few days to work out the quirks, but they've seemed to be very useful in reducing the amount of exposure that we have.
Yeah.
And if they do come in contact with someone who they would deem a presumed positive, then they would stick with the patient and ride that patient, be their caretaker on the way to the hospital if that's the way we're going to do it. But we've also been advised if they are symptomatic for COVID-19 and they're under the age of 65 and they don't have any of these underlying conditions, we're encouraging them to stay home.
Yeah.
Because there's not a whole lot in early stages of symptoms.
With that order, of course, that's common.
Right.
Or order or suggestion. What about simple treatment? I mean, you treat it like a cold or a flu. Like, I mean, you take NyQuil and whatever you do, or I mean, when you tell somebody to stay at home, I forget sometimes. That sounds like, yeah, that's a good idea. Just stay at home.
Right.
But if they're calling, I guess there's a difference between calling, just saying, hey, I want to know if I have it.
Right.
And then like, man, I'm dying over here.
And that's usually where those underlying conditions come in.
Yeah.
We have people who call us because they do have a bad cold, a bad flu.
Yeah.
And that's what we recommend. Is like, you know, we can take you to the hospital, but you'd probably be better off here resting in your own bed. Do you have access to Tylenol, ibuprofen, you know, NyQuil?
And so that's a good point. So this disease, this virus, is a virus and very similar to the flu.
Correct.
And people would argue, I've seen arguments that it's worse and that it's not as worse. So,
right.
But the issue at hand, it is far more contagious, right? That's the general, that's why you've got the crazy gear and it's not because it's going to eat your face off if you get it. Yes, it's deadly. And yes, if you don't take care of yourself, it could grow and kill you. But the contagion part of it seems to be what people seem to I feel like people overlook the most.
Yeah, but that's in any communicable disease. You know, you don't want to be sneezing in someone's face or be, sharing an elevator with someone who's hacking up a lung. Those are just common communicable disease preventions are, give yourself some distance.
Yeah.
Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Things that, most people know is common sense for spreading germs and diseases. But with this, it's the extra diligence in it.
Yeah.
That I used to be a nail biter, but now I'm not sticking my
doing
fingers in my mouth. Part of it is because I'm tired of tasting hand sanitizer.
Sure. Yeah.
But the second is sometimes you forget.
That's good.
Man, what I got.
Well, that's I'm starting to get that question. What have you learned? We're past tense is the wrong word, right? We're still here.
What are we learning?
What are we learning? And I'll be honest with you, man. I don't get seriously sick. Right. I have before, but like last year, I got a little under the weather. It moved quickly. It was never bad. That's kind of an example of how I get sick.
Right.
And so I've always been, okay, I respect that you're sick, but I can still do things. And
right.
So now I'm the idiot out there spreading COVID-19. So I think I'm hoping that's what I'm going to learn. That's what I'm going to take in is that, like, if it's me, if I'm sick,
right,
take a step back, do the protocol things, learn how to properly sanitize yourself.
Right.
And there's plenty of folks that are out there that are that way, especially young people.
Yeah.
Under the age of, really under the age of 60. People in their 50s are very, very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
My parents are in their 60s and super healthy, but
right.
Generally, nowadays people under 50 are healthy. And if you get a tiny little cough, there's no reason to stay at home and not work, right?
Yeah.
But on that same note, businesses need to be in support of calling in sick. Now,
right.
I always compare what businesses should do to my business. It's me and an employee.
Right.
I think things don't apply to like under 10, or I think that the rule is actually under 50.
Okay.
50, I think it should apply to 50, but if my employee doesn't come in, I need somebody there.
Right.
The business needs to operate.
Right.
So I got to determine. So that's what I'm going to learn. That's what I'm trying to learn. Is it okay to shut down my business, take phone calls only, in order for somebody to get better?
Yeah.
But the opposite end of that is I've got 5 to 10 people that come in my office a day. How do I screen them?
Yeah.
I could be as safe as possible, right?
Yeah.
And that's actually why my business is closed.
Mm-hmm.
I've got, we handle cash. I've got a range of people that come in.
Right.
And there's no telling. Because we're proud. Like I just said, I'm the one that's proud. I don't need to go home. Let me run up and pay my insurance since I'm off work. Well, I got gunk on my hands, pay with my cash.
Yeah.
I infected the person who took my money, me, the business owner who counts it, and then goes to the bank.
It's at 6 degrees of separation. You'll get tracked back to one thing or another. And that's there's all sorts of lessons to be learned.
Good.
This. And a lot of it is just hygiene in one, but it too is just, being aware how it does affect other people. Because again, you could be, I'm good. I'm not I'm not worried about passing it along. I wash my hands, whatever. But again, or I'm not feeling bad.
Yeah. We
have people out there who have had it or currently have it but are not symptomatic.
Right. That's another crazy thing.
And that's where another thing that I'm looking forward to is through our hazmat team and some of the technicians that we have on our hazmat team that are completely been nothing but help in this whole thing. We just got hold of a chemical, chlorine dioxide. They're little tablets that we mix with water that basically kill everything, but it's still safe for touching and
I feel like I've heard of that.
And we're aerosolizing it to decontaminate the ambulances.
Wow.
To decontaminate any of our clothing. But they've outfitted each station with a little 1-gallon pump sprayer.
Yeah.
That now we can go around the recliners.
Let me take a step back on that. You said the hazmat.
Correct.
Because Grand Prairie has their own hazmat team.
Correct.
That really is used throughout the Metroplex at times, right?
Yeah, they've really come in and done it right. And our administration and our officers that have been in charge of that, Captain John Stevenson for one, and then all of our shift lieutenants who are at Station 5 that have taken ownership of that program have really set the bar high for other hazmat response teams in the area. These guys are always training in Colorado or any chance they get to broaden their scope of response to hazardous materials mitigation. They're on it, so they're definitely at the top of the food chain when it comes to hazardous materials, and that's another good thing. It's a revenue generator. Yeah. So that's anytime you can offset tax dollars, absolutely, is a big plus. Absolutely.
And the leaders who appropriate those funds love to tell their constituency that.
And again, we've through our fire department administration with our chiefs, and then the city government, the mayor's office, the city manager's office, we've gotten all the support in the world.
Good.
And it's been making a firefighter in this city very enjoyable.
Well, I'm proud to be a part of that, but I'll note that was well in effect before I came on. The support that, and I'll give it up to City Manager Tom Hart,
right?
And of course, Steve Dye now is leading the whole city response to COVID-19. Just well run. It's a good to be a part of, and that's what about learning things. This is new to everybody.
Yeah.
So any mistake that is made is not due because you're an idiot or due because you don't know what you're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. This is brand new.
Well, everyone's flying blind.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, especially Grand Prairie and being right next to Dallas, I'm damn proud.
Well,
I feel like today, at least, we're still in this.
Yeah.
We're doing very well.
We are,
and I mean following the rules, respecting the authority.
Yeah.
Coming together to get through this. We're not a small city, so you can't be just like, the small town stuck together. We're almost 200,000 people.
Yeah.
And wide varieties of people too. We're skinny.
Yeah.
So the people in South Grand Prairie are different from people in North Grand Prairie. Yeah. We have a wide spectrum of folks, but the entire city seems, and I don't want to speak too soon because we're still right in the middle of this, but it seems to be coming together to fight this thing.
Yeah, and the good thing is again, fire administration has done a good job in keeping a contact with other departments in the Metroplex about, hey, how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Early on, it was we were running low on PPE. We were having to conserve our gloves. We were having to really be judicious on when we wore the gowns. And for a little bit, it was only instead of everybody having a pair of eye protection, you had 2 pairs per apparatus.
Wow!
So it kind of made you a little uneasy. Like, am I getting set up for failure here? But then again, it's like everyone's having the same problem.
Yeah.
So again, looking through the Firefighters Association unions is that from the national level, hey, let us know what your resources are. This emergency declaration just got passed, and there's billions of dollars that we have access to. Our emergency management team, Chase Wheeler, Michael Joy, have kind of been the unsung heroes.
I've noticed how they're
keeping up on all the changes. We found out that they got access to some of the old Texas General stockpile.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Of their protective equipment.
Oh, cool.
So we had a little surplus come in. I
had a friend I went to school with. He's a very good friend of mine. He might have heard this right now, but he sells medical equipment.
Okay.
And so he's like, oh man, he's a good dude, great company, great products, right? But he was like, hey man, who can I talk to about? So I'm like, come on, we're just figuring this out. We don't know. Yeah. We're gonna figure it out, and I'll get you in contact with them. But it was funny. It was almost like an opportunity there.
Yeah.
But we had a surplus, so that's good to hear.
Yeah. So it was nice to come in to knowing that we had the equipment we need to do our job safely.
Yeah.
Because that's our biggest fear as first responders is, yes, our primary goal when we come to duty is to protect the community and serve, right? But we're always at a risk. We're always at a risk of injury, fighting fire, working the highway call on I-30, people whizzing by at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
We're always at risk. That's the nature of our job. That's an inherent risk built in. We signed up for this. The exposure stuff, not so much, but we've learned to adapt it because EMS is a big part of the fire service.
Yeah.
So when we go to work each shift, we don't say, I'm going to be extra cautious not to catch flu today. It's just something that we do. We
got to roll with it.
We roll with it. And we know we've been trained to protect ourselves properly.
Yeah.
But our biggest fear is taking something home to our families.
Man. So
if you look at the domino effect, we run on a patient, it's unknown, they're symptomatic, right? And here was a big glitch in the chain was if we run on this individual and they're showing all the signs and we say it's a high percentage that you do have it, but it's unlikely that you'll be tested because of the shortage of tests. We recommend you stay home, isolate yourself, take care of the symptoms you can through over-the-counter medicines. And they say, okay, I'll take your advice, I'll stay home. I do not want to go by ambulance. They sign a refusal that says, hey, they've acknowledged, kind of like, what your relative did. And now we have no more contact with that patient. Patient starts feeling ill later, decides, you know what, I'm going to take myself to the hospital.
Okay.
They go to the hospital, test positive. We don't get informed that they tested positive, and we had contact with them.
Yeah.
Because,
and how do they inform you?
Well, they can't.
They don't know.
Because that chain of custody, so to speak, goes away with them refusing service.
Yeah.
So that's where their paper trail with the city of Grand Prairie stops.
I mean, the hospital can include a question, did you contact any other medical? I mean, that's a pretty good little.
Yeah. So that's a huge caveat that I think is skewing some of the numbers.
Yeah. But
it's something that we have to know going in that,
sure,
hey, I'm not worried as much because I was wearing my gear.
Sure. Our mayor had a real good point. He said, I'm practicing social distancing.
Right.
I'm 6 feet away from everybody I come in contact with except Rebecca.
Right.
He said, so today we were having lunch up at City Hall. There was about 6 of us. He said, today, if I find out, Cole, you have COVID-19, I know I'm good because I cleaned before and after I saw you. I stayed more than 6 feet away from you. And so I thought it was a good point. Like, it's almost encouraging, let's get back to normal, right?
Yeah.
Because but practice social distancing. If you can, it's the inability to practice social distancing.
It's got to be unanimous participation.
Yeah, unanimous participation. Well done. Yeah. That's pretty tough, man.
It's impossible. It's hurting kittens.
Well, and that's why, concerts, they said concerts next year maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
sporting events.
Can you imagine, I've been to concerts that I don't like going to anymore where it's just you're pressed up against each other.
Yeah.
But even sitting in chairs, restaurants, they could do every other table, I think.
Yeah.
I think that would be effective.
Anything manageable, they can cut the occupancy load by half.
Yeah.
Create that. And some of the stores are doing that now. You not only do you have to be 6 feet away, but now there can only be half of the number of people in there at a time. Costco's only letting like 2 people in per card, to where before you can bring a family of 10 in there with 1 card.
Yeah, I got to make the argument of what I'm doing at my office because insurance is considered essential.
Right.
Well, I'm closed.
Okay.
And so am I just doing that just to get away from the office? No, man. I need to make some money.
Yeah.
But I'm it's more importantly the health of my employee.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think another lesson to be learned out of this is being more aware of that domino effect.
Yeah.
Of passing it
6
along, even though
degrees.
you may not even know you have it, but you pass it. You're a carrier, but you're not symptomatic. So what I was going back to about the hazmat team was our chief, through one of the hazmat techs, found a contact to obtain those antibody test kits.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay, so now they're looking for people who have had COVID-19 or SARS, and that way your body shows a marker and you have antibodies for this. And they're doing that to help maybe get a vaccine going.
Okay, so how do you? You said had it and passed. So how do you know you've had it and passed? You just have to check blood?
You have to check blood. It's
Wow.
it's like a diabetic sugar test.
Yeah.
It's a finger prick test. You pop it in, and they've got some kind of pH paper or some kind of magic dust in these little vials. And it will sense the antibody that was created by having
it. Yeah.
So here early on in December and January, when a lot of us had the flu-like symptoms, but just had a little bit more of the congestion in the chest or a little bit more of the pneumonia type stuff, because most of us here at work are healthy individuals, not compromised immune systems. It passed, right? With various degrees of symptoms.
Sure.
So we're all thinking now, man, there's about 3 or 4 of us who kind of passed something along. Treated as a flu, took a shift or 2 off. Now we're back. Everything's good. So now we're all wondering, was that COVID-19?
Was that COVID-19?
So we're
hearing a lot of that.
There's some of us who are looking forward to this antibody test. Or anyways, Chief was able to get a hold of 400.
Okay.
So he's encouraging all of us to do it. To be any help we can in donating plasma or whatever it is that.
You think he's going to go with everybody, or I guess he can start with those who.
It's not mandatory.
Yeah.
It'll be purely voluntary, but he will have enough for everybody.
Yeah.
Which is cool, because just curious minds want to know. Have I had it? Because if you have had it once, the chances of having it again to where you're very contagious or very symptomatic or dramatically decreased.
That was one of the things.
Built up that antibody.
Yeah. That was one of the things with the testing in general, right? Like, they didn't want every Joe going up there and testing for COVID-19 because the tests were limited, right? And they wanted to just make sure we're not testing. You have the blood stuff for in-house, but we're not testing besides.
We're not even testing each other.
Yeah.
So we're not doing anything test-wise in-house.
Yeah.
Everything.
None of our calls or anything. You're
correct.
Not doing an official test.
We're not testing anybody. There was talks of a regional one being closer here in Grand Prairie. That got moved to South Dallas.
They said one of them already closed down.
Oh, really?
Because people aren't going.
Huh.
It's interesting. It's just such a, and everybody has a report.
Yeah.
It's funny. I click on both. I say both, actually 3 different cable news networks. Like, so because I click
especially
on all,
balanced.
Yeah, because I click on them, I also have, and it is night and day, every one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, the same video clip of Trump saying something
2 different headlines.
has 2 completely different headlines. So which one do you prescribe to? So that's the biggest thing that kind of sucks, is like, man, let's get together. Let's figure this out. We're just making it. And I do not want to belittle the danger of this system, but that's half the scare is the social media attack,
It's just media in general. And
again, I'm not belittling the seriousness of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just that I make the joke, is my face going to start peeling off because of this disease? It kind of, sometimes, I remember those first couple weeks when the first week, I think I was fine, the spring break week.
Right.
And then into that second week, I was like, dang,
Yeah.
they're not playing around.
Yeah.
This is like, we're going into shutdown.
It wasn't until, I'm trying to think of the breakover point for me. I think it was when they started shutting down restaurants.
Yeah.
Being like, you can't be in a normal place.
I think that Sunday I went up to Firehouse and had dinner. Like, it was like cool. And then, like, I think the next day they're like, sorry, we can't do it.
Yeah. It's strange. And they say, this is the new normal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it probably is, because even if we do go back to our previous habits, I mean, we're so removed from, we're a 3-week habit breaking cycle away from.
Yeah. We've formed new habits.
So this is the new normal, whether we like it or not.
Oh, man. My friend, like, I had a good friend of mine come over yesterday. I'm sorry, I say good friend of mine. He's a young man. He still lives with his parents. I worked with him at the church when he was in the youth. Now he's a little bit older. he wanted to get out of the house.
Right.
Since he lives at home, he still has a little parental authority. His parents wouldn't let him.
Right.
Unless he brought his own chair and we sat outside. So sure enough, he came over, we sat in chairs out in the front yard and talked for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
That was nice. That was my social interaction, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that that's not the only way we do it.
Right.
You know, as fun as it was, I don't think I've ever sat in front of my house and talked with somebody for 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of cool to experience that.
And the coolest thing that I've seen is I live in North Fort Worth, and there's biking trails, hiking trails, you know, usually see people walking dogs. Man, I have seen such an increase in physical activity of people, you know, families going out and walking, jogging, you know, there's always people out enjoying the outside. It's like, it's been years. It's like pre-smartphone era of seeing that kind of outdoor activity in a suburban population.
I'm glad we've kind of circled to this because I'm a Christian. I'm not going to preach to you, but I say that because there's this wholesome attitude that you get that I often see in this world is not happening. Okay, I said a lot there, but basically the family dynamic, the home, you know, all these things that, I mean, we work so hard and travel. You work Fort Worth and you travel all the way to Grand Prairie. Mm-hmm. Now, luckily, you get a couple days at home to enjoy it, but most people travel back and forth. Yeah. They get home at 7. By the time you eat and wind down, you're in sleep, wake up, do it again. I truly believe people are starting to appreciate what they have at home. And for me, that's appreciating the small things, doing what you love. I believe that's happening now.
Yeah. And it's evident when you're seeing, again, I think social media activity has increased just because you can't do anything else, right?
Oh yeah.
So
great time killer.
Yeah. And so
killing too much time though sometimes.
Yeah. And so you see people posting stuff of what they're doing at home, and you're seeing a lot of, you know, family oriented stuff, and really is getting back to
it's interesting,
the tribal aspect.
Yeah.
You know,
I've seen that used particularly with some of the life groups at my church, and they're like, you know, I forget to reach out to my tribe, and they tag all their friends and they post a few pictures. They said, "This is my tribe." And you kind of get to go back to that theme. It's funny. You've got so there's an argument, right? That let's go back to how it was.
Right.
For social distancing, yes, but open everything up back to normal. Yes, people are going to die, but people are going to die anyway, right? So that's like this mean against life, or you don't care if old people die approach, whatever.
I do what I want to do.
Sure. Yeah. And then you have the opposite of that is, you know, it's better to preserve life and just take a step back.
Right.
You know, I think I would lean towards keep things normal because I think we're going to die. I'm going to die.
Right.
You're going to die.
Right.
So I wouldn't do that on somebody else.
Right.
And then I have now respected everybody else to where I'm going to maintain those rules.
Right.
But I have my initial immediate response may be, let's just get back to normal.
Yeah. Figure it out as we go.
And then we're talking about that family and working thing. What's more important, going to work and making a bunch of money?
Yeah.
Or now we're learning the important stuff about being home.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't like hold you over for another 10 years. You know, you need to remember that this is something that you enjoy doing. Do it all the time.
Yeah.
Not wait 10 more years before you do it again.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There are things that, you know, I definitely found I've taken for granted, you know, with my kids and my family. And
good,
you know,
man.
You try to enjoy those little things and that you just didn't either notice before because you were too busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Or that you just didn't make time for.
Okay.
You know?
Hey, Brandon, I'm going to change subject real fast. And actually not change the subject. you've been 21 years, you said?
I had 20 in October.
20 in October.
Yes, sir.
What got you being a fireman? What made you decide to do that?
I was just a kid who liked big toys and loud noises
Loud
and
noises.
sirens,
Yeah.
Now I have relatives in the fire service, and
Okay.
my godfather did 28 years with the city of Anaheim in California,
Oh, wow.
and then his son carried on his legacy.
Well, are you an Angels fan?
I am an Angels fan. I am still proud to claim the Angels.
Do you know who David Carpenter is?
I do.
Good. Okay. Does he still play for them?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. It was a few years ago, but he debuted there, and he's a Grand Prairie guy, and thought that was kind of cool. So California moved
Southern California, born and raised, and went through high school in Mission Viejo, California, Tribuco Hills High School.
Wow.
Home of the Mustangs.
All you Californians keep moving here, man.
It's a good place to be.
You did it before it was cool, though.
I think I was right on the crust, right on the crust of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my dad, who worked a corporate job, was like, you know what, I'm kind of tired of the rat race of Southern California. His office out here in Irving said, we got a spot for you. So he transferred over here, and I was already kind of set in my fire career path.
That was your path, regardless of where you're at.
Yeah, I stayed on that, and coming out of high school, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I didn't apply to any 4 years. It was just a straight junior college, fire academy route for me.
Nice.
So I did my couple years at the junior college with the fire academy, and got my prerequisites done. Went to the fire academy in '96, part of '96, graduated in '97. Became a certified firefighter at 20 years old.
No way.
Yeah. And,
well done.
And then my dad turns around and says, "Hey, congratulations, but if you want to stay there, good luck to you. You're on your own."
Yeah.
Financially helping out. 'Cause
20 years old.
Yeah. And he said, or you come out to Texas where everyone and their mother's hiring, because the whole Metroplex was booming at the time. Louisville was still fairly small. Flower Mound was just kind of on the crux of getting bigger. Frisco was
nothing.
Plano Fire Department was the pinnacle at the time.
Really?
They're still
sure.
a very, very powerful fire department. Long story short, everyone's tested. So he's like, come on out here, give it a shot, save some money, do what you want to do. Okay, I'm going to go that route. All right.
Thanks, Pops.
Stayed on the leash for a little bit. Came out to Texas and got introduced to paramedic school.
Yeah.
Did that route. And
so it wasn't required then, though, right?
No.
But you chose to go ahead and
I chose to do it because, again, at that time, it was the more marketable you can make yourself, the better candidate you're going to be.
Yeah.
So the less a city has to spend on you, the more you're going to shine.
I should have prefaced this question, but is there any crazy fire stories off the top of your head? 20 years.
Crazy subjective.
Crazy subjective. Yeah.
I can literally say I've seen just about everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Fortunately,
well, I don't want to get too personal, but enough where like you've got a little PTSD type thing. And I'm not trying to jump in your deal, but there's just some pretty extreme situations you might come across.
There are things that I can remember down to a T as far as certain things that someone was wearing or the smell in the air.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't have anything that keeps me awake or triggers me into thinking something unpleasant. But that too, along with the cancer stuff,
sure,
mental health is a big thing. And I'm actually one of our peer support members, to where if we have individuals who feel like they need to talk to somebody, because pride is a bitch.
Boy,
right?
It is.
And so through some of these studies, they found that firefighters are more apt to open up and talk to a fellow firefighter than they will a medical professional, or even a spiritual guidance counselor, pastors or whoever.
And so you do that.
Yeah. You're able so we got this program up and running.
So tell me about Ferris. No.
Yeah.
No. Tell me some of his deep. No, I'm kidding.
No. Yeah. He's pretty private.
Yeah.
He's pretty private. But I'd have to charge money to give that information out.
Yeah. I'm paying, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So this peer support thing, we got it up and running because it was something that we found is a need in our industry.
Yeah.
We're having at the point to where suicide rates for firefighters and first responders outnumbered the line of duty deaths.
Wow.
We knew we had a problem.
Yeah. Jeez, man.
So, and that's across the board of EMS workers and firefighters. I'm not so sure about law enforcement. They weren't in this little survey that I was privy to, but the need is there.
Yeah.
So we want to be proactive, and there's certification courses to go through to learn how to be really an active listener and be someone, say, hey man, if you need to talk to someone, just talk to me. And then also we were provided resources to hotlines, counselors, things that we recognize were outside of our scope of practice.
Yeah.
Our ability to say, oh, okay, yeah, you need some help. We can contact them with somebody. Here recently, we are part of a 9-city group out of Cedar Hill. That Cedar Hill got this grant. It's a firefighter resiliency program. And there's 9 cities that have trained peer counselors that respond and help out with any critical incident safety debriefings.
Yeah.
But we've also got licensed clinicians who are versed in first responder stressors.
Sure.
We have EAP here, but EAP, you call, they go through their checklist, and you go see a clinician who is used to talking to a civilian who doesn't understand waking up at 3 a.m. to loud buzzes repeatedly.
I think it's my episode 4 or 6. It's labeled "Let's Talk It Out."
Okay.
Talked with had our local counseling center come in, and the director,
right,
but also the clinical technician who has a master's in counseling.
Yeah.
One of the most important things somebody can do, if they do it regularly anyway, is talk it out a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like if you don't let that stuff out,
It
it builds, man.
And it changes you. It changes you.
And the counselor, they're trained more or less to listen.
Right.
So if your friend, your compadre, your work partner is able to facilitate that, at least even at a minor level, world of difference.
Yeah. And it there has been, we've utilized it a handful of times, within our department. And there's also the International Association of Firefighters has a wellness center in Maryland that is strictly for first responders.
Okay.
And it's if you've got someone who has some PTSD issues, even some substance issues,
wow,
they can get you right in, and you're there with other first responders.
Yeah.
So you have people you can talk to in that facility that share your level of distress.
Yeah.
And there's clinicians there who know what stressors have brought you to that point. So,
well, Brandon, I want to point out a couple things. So, we like to thank our first responders. You're a fireman. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And I say that on behalf of most of the folks I'm around. Cole Humphreys, I really don't care about, but also we've learned that you're taking care of the first responders as well. You in your particular role. So I'm going to give you a specific thanks for the role you take on, and try to give you encouragement to do that. It is serving man. I mean, it is taking that upon your own shoulders and trying to give back to those around you, and so I commend you for that, and thank you a lot for it. And I appreciate you reaching out to me to come on here. This was it's a strange time, and I think if people are listening to a few more podcasts, so I want to try to continue to give them something to listen to. And I do ask that you consider doing this again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a city employee, that's all up to you.
Right.
You reach out to me. I'm not gonna.
Fell through the IG wormhole.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not gonna reach out to you on that. But I definitely enjoy it, and I think we're dispersing some good information here. So.
Yeah, And one of the good things, just kind of add on to your appreciation for what I've been doing, is none of this has been an individual thing. I've had the support and the help of our administration, of Chief Fight and our assistant chiefs. I've had, Chief Ferris, when he was president, kind of gave me the go-ahead for the peer support thing. Right now, serving as the association president, I've got 4 other individuals who I lean on heavily that are my representatives for each shift that really help in the decision-making processes that are being made for the betterment of our department.
Good.
And again, just the support of the city council, yourself and the rest of the council,
sure.
the city manager, and the mayor.
Yeah.
It's a team. It's a team sport. Yes, I have picked up the torch on some of these endeavors, but I can't do it alone, and I need and lean on, my fellow firefighters to help, because it is for the betterment of everybody.
Sure.
So couldn't do it without them.
Thanks for coming on. Let's do it again, man.
Absolutely.
All right,
Appreciate
buddy.
it.
See ya.
Thanks, sir.
That's good, man.
Ooh, how about quick?